Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Prashant. Today, we are here to review another book which is known as Journey of Souls, written by Michael Newton. And this book actually talks about after death experience. Yes, you heard me right. We are going to talk about what actually happens after death. Now, Michael Newton, he died in 2016, unfortunately. But before that, he had a vast experience of 40 years into psychology and as a hypnotist. So, in this book, he has actually condensed his information about after death experience, and he has taken into consideration 29 different cases to explain what actually happens after death. So there are 15 different chapters in this book. I'll try to cover them one by one, and I'll try to summarize and keep it as short as possible. So chapter 1 is known as Death and Departure, and it talks about the very next moments after the soul leaves the physical body. Death actually happens. After that, the soul is still there on the earth plane. The earth plane is basically all the universe and physical dimensions that we see, planet, solar system. So the soul doesn't leave the earth plane instantly to go to the spiritual world, which will be called as the astral plane. We'll call it the astral plane. So the soul remains in the earth plane for some time. Now, there can be two situations. The first situation can be that the soul is accepting and receptive of their death, and they are ready to go to the spiritual world. But sometimes it can happen that some young souls who die young, who have unfinished business, desires, they resist going to the spiritual world, to the astral world. So they might take some time before moving to the astral world. Now, again, over here, the concept of detachment becomes very relevant, because if we have that feeling of detachment, if we have that feeling and understanding that everything that we are seeing right now is temporary, it becomes easier for us to go to the spiritual world. And over there, we go through a specific process to understand and analyze our past life. So we'll talk about that later. But it's important to understand that a soul can only leave the earth plane when it is willing to, right? So will is very, very important in the spiritual world. Nothing is forced. So it's important to understand, and it's important to practice detachment. And the process of moving from the earth to the astral world actually talks about moving through a tunnel and seeing light at the end of the tunnel, which again we must have heard. At least I have heard certain stories of near death experience where people go through a tunnel and go to a world where there's light everywhere. So similar experiences have been shared in the first chapter, and the process of moving from the earth plane to the astral plane through the tunnel, we'll talk about that in chapter 2. So chapter 1, as I said, it's all about death and how souls accept the death. There is no concept of hell or heaven, to be very frank. There is one spiritual world where everybody is welcomed after death, and that is where we are going to see that is exactly where the souls will be in chapter 2.